See, in WWE, you're at the head of the table. All right.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to present to you Ann Capela. Thank you.
Hello, Ann.
Hi.
Pleasure to have you.
And if you could give us a brief introduction.
Good evening. My name is Ann Capela. I am from, actually, Berkeley, Michigan. Not from, but I live in Berkeley, Michigan. And I bring to you a great deal of experience. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to dialogue tonight, and you get a sense of how you, as a group, feel, and see how we can proceed. I bring to you, I'm consider myself a mature professional city manager. Been in the business and in this profession for 25 plus years or so. Graduated Wayne State University with a master's degree. I believe that I can serve you really well. I have an extensive knowledge about this area. This is sort of my wheelhouse. I live around here. And also years of experience in other states. I have worked in the desert of California, and I have also worked on the Mexican and U.S. border, and also in Alaska, in the tundras and in the frozen north. I have excellent knowledge. Particularly, I pride myself in knowing and doing excellent work with grants. I've written many grants. In fact, I've been successful in obtaining many grants and working with federal agencies like EPA, working with the state of Michigan, working with counties, and working with other federal agencies. I personally work on CDBGs. I know how to fill out even a CDBG grant. So I bring to you years of experience. I'm very assertive when it comes to economic development. In fact, I went online to look at your strategic plan, but it's from 2022, so I'm hoping that you are looking to update that. It's still on the website. What is the priorities of council? So I bring to you years of experience, friendly atmosphere. I'm a teacher by nature, and I look forward to getting your questions.
Okay, we're going to fire off questions from each one of us to make it fair, and we're going to spread it out from different areas. First question will be, what is your experience with recycling programs, and how would you increase resident recycling in Lincoln Park?
My recycling programs goes back to way managing and first citing an understanding how recycling works way back in Livingston County, Illinois. We've been able to, they were successful in actually citing a landfill and taking a lot of recycling from Chicago. That was my first experience back in the late 90s. We have had, and I've been involved in many recycling plants, and when I served in the city of Inkster, we belonged to the local association of governments in order to do recycling. I strongly believe in recycling. I personally am big on recycling, and also it provides ownership to the individuals and the community on recycling and keeping the city clean.
Okay, next up will be our city clerk.
So if you're appointed the city manager, what's your plan for the first 180 days?
Well, the first 180 days, and thank you for the question, I was thinking about that because it was a similar question asked this afternoon, and I think the first 180 days, first I wanted to sit down and get to know individuals, department heads, council, one-on-one conversations. I tend to, try to get a sense of what council is about and individual council members as well as a group, working with department heads, working to see what their needs are, what their plans are, what is the history, understanding the interrelationships and what goes on. Probably the second month or so I'd be sitting down looking at your audits, previous audits. I like to leaf through all the audits, where the money's at. I am a big bit of a budget hawk, so I would want to know where we are standing, where the debts are, where the, payments are, what are the issues that you're facing financially, because I have worked in cities that really put themselves financially at risk. So that would be first. Then also, I probably accept every invitation to any chicken luncheon that you may provide me with to get to know the community and be happy to introduce myself around. I'm not shy, so I'm always available to attend functions, whether they're in the evening or during the day. So that would be my 180 days. I'd be sitting down and working, and also taking a look at where your labor force is, if you have any negotiations that need to be completed, particularly in any kind of agreements that you have with unions. So those are the immediate things. And then I also want to talk about what are the priorities, because what are your priorities? So I can assist you in getting to those priorities.
Councilman Dupre?
I was going to say that the term used when you begin work somewhere is there is the storming, norming, and performing. So the first 180 days would be a lot of storming, learning, and then we would, norming and then performing. So that's kind of the academic description.
Okay. Councilman Dupre?
What challenges do you see the city facing in the next coming years?
Infrastructure is something that is facing all these communities, all the communities here in the Downriver area, and practically everywhere in Michigan. Infrastructure, particularly as it relates, some of the city's infrastructure for water and sewer and stormwater collections was built, in the sometimes in the late 30s, early 40s. I worked for communities that they literally had wooden pipes still in the ground, and water pipes made out of wood. And also, these pipes are old, and frankly, when the city was being designed and they were first installing this, the density wasn't there, so a lot of the pipes are, some of the pipes that are iron pipes are definitely, you can have the effect of having brownish water, but those are the issues, and particularly in this area of Michigan is always the stormwater issues and backup sewers. When it rains, most of the stormwaters are combined overflow from sewers and rainwater, and it really becomes problematic. And we experience that. I personally have experienced when your basement floods. And those be the capital infrastructure. And the other one, I think it's labor infrastructure, having labor, retaining personnel. The technology is faster and faster. And just as you get used to a program, you've got a new program coming out. And that is a challenge.
Councilman Dupre? Councilman Tobin. I did that twice today.
Get my name right tonight? Do you have any experience bringing contracted services in-house? And if you do, what was the situation, and were you able to recognize cost savings?
Well, some of the contracted services that we looked at that I have been involved is particularly collection of waste collection, household waste collection. That's always been, when you're going from city collection to contracting out, that's always been controversial. It has always proven to be positive and cost saving, but there are unique situations where you can bring the contracting. Sometimes maintenance of the buildings is contracted out. My experience was when you do decide to go that route to contract out, one, you have to have well-written contracts. Because sometimes those contracts can be not as well-written, and the city takes a hit on that. But I think that contracts like maintenance inside, public buildings can work really well. But I have seen where, when I worked on that, is we phased it out. As soon as the retirements were going on, there was a phase out and bringing in contractors.
Okay. And
We've
the
also,
thing is
I've been,
Contract, the question is bringing the contracted services back in-house, not taking them
Out.
from out, in-house, out contracted, bringing them back in-house.
depending on what it is. One that was really worked well is at one point, county I work for decided to contract out jail services. And that was not that didn't work out so well, so we brought it back. And one of the things is when you're contracting out jail services, you're only thinking about saving money but having no control over it over what's going on. And we did have to bring that back.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Councilman Ross.
Tell us about your experience in preparing and managing budgets. What do you think are the keys to successfully managing a budget in the public sector?
Well, budgeting cycle for me is every 6 months. So as soon as one budget is put to bed and it's approved, we have a little bit of implementation. You go and work on your audit, and as soon as the audit is done, you go back and start budgeting again. Budgeting starts for me, at a base level, at a department head level. I like to put out a memo to the department heads to take a look at their budgets, particularly their line items, where they're at, doing some projections, what are their needs, what are their wants. And a lot of times it is just, needs and wants. And then we take a look at capital improvement, operational budget, capital improvement budget, and also what I look at is what is our debt obligation budget. So I don't know where your OPEBs are or if you have pension obligations, et cetera. Those are the things I would be looking at. It starts early. I like to work with the department heads, go through that, and then co-present, have city council have workshops and talk about it. Some councils like to go line by line item, and I don't know if that's your desire, or do you look at program budgets? Some councils have gone to where they're doing two-year budgeting, and some do annual budgeting. That just depends, it's a personal preference or the collective preference of the council, but I have had extensive experience in budgeting, and I've done zero-based budgeting, program budgeting, and I'm a budget hawk. I literally go into the BSNA software every month, and I do your revenue expenditure checks. I want to see where the departments are in their expenditures. So I do that monthly. And, you're always looking at the budget. If a department is spending too much or not spending or what's going on in that line item, I ask them, next budget cycle, we're going to have to change that.
Mr. Bear, Jason Bear.
This position requires you to respond to many requests in a short period of time. How do you ensure promptness, accuracy, and courtesy under these conditions?
Well, you're always courteous. Remember, you're serving the public, and you've chosen to serve the public, and I think you get a lot more done when you're courteous. I think the priority issue is usually safety of employees, safety on the roads are always priority. And when we're talking about safety of individuals, safety of property, those are always on the priority list, so we do not expose ourselves to risk. However, when it comes to different wants and needs, I always look to council and see where we are. And I go back to make sure that I check your goals, and are we going along with these goals? Are we delivering on the goals that you've set to us as staff? And that's my guide. But when it comes to prioritizing, there's many issues that come and many wants to City Council, and I would take my direction from Council, but also work with you as a team and work with staff to make sure you have good information. When you do make that decision, that you have solid information to make a decision on. So priorities are always safety. You always have to pay your employees. Make sure that there's funds available to pay everyone. Make sure you pay your bills. and also keep the city moving and the city passable, especially when you get into winter. Cleaning snow, getting your equipment out there, fire, response to emergencies. Those are big priorities.
Councilman Zor.
When you become city manager, how do you go about getting to know the citizens in the community and the stakeholders?
Well, first, as I told the staff this afternoon, you don't ever have to make an appointment with me to see me. You come by and, if I'm free, we'll definitely chat, whether it's council members or public or someone that comes by and wants to ask some questions. That's not a problem for me. I usually get a lot of my work done after 5 when City Hall closes. Get more chance to do the work. But during the day, that is my duty, is to receive public. And, people have concerns. And quite often, people are surprised that I call them after 6 o'clock. They would leave a message. I pick up my messages, call them back. And they go, wow, it's 7 o'clock. You're still in the office? I said, that's my best time to call back before 8 o'clock. So I am very outgoing. And I have never minded, public stopping by, especially, in the small communities, whether I'm at a grocery store, Myers or Kroger's or any, Walgreens or Rite Aid. I always interact with the public. People stop, and I'll answer the questions.
Thank you for your answer.
How would you describe your personality, and how do those qualities help you in a public servant or leader's position?
I'm generally a cheerful person, so I come to work, thinking this is the day the Lord has made. We are here. We're going to do a good work. I care, and I'm very approachable, very outgoing, and that helps me. And I'm very confident in my abilities to do the work that's necessary, particularly knowledge of government. And I often take the time to teach others or explain to department heads or someone why we are doing what we're doing, why we are responsible to the public. So I think generally, I have a very positive disposition. I've been around for a number of years, enjoy children, enjoy the public. I like participating in outdoor activities with the public. I like to join the cleanups and seniors as often as I can and, get a chance to talk to me. People want to talk to their city manager. They want to see the city manager. And it's good to be out there, especially, whether walking to Tim Hortons across the street or just being out there. And I'm a teacher by nature, and I enjoy it. I enjoy interacting.
Our city clerk.
How would you prioritize the activities of the city staff?
Well, as has been my custom and practice, after every council meeting, let's say council meeting is at night, the following day, without a doubt, we're going to have a staff meeting. We're going to take the agenda and look at council actions and council directives. And that is what we have to do. By next council meeting, if council wants answers, we ought to have those answers. If it's a written answer, we ought to have that written answer. I will approach the department head, say, you were asked about this is public works, we need a response to council, I need you to come back and get this done, and if you can't get it to me in 3 or 4 days, let me know why you can't get it to me in 3 and 4 days. So those would be my priorities as far as getting things done that council is requiring. Second is interacting with department heads, depending on what's going on. If the department heads come to me and say, look, I'm having a tough time with a particular issue, help me out. I'm there. I'm there for them, because it is a team effort, particularly department heads. I can only be as good as the department heads assist me, because while I can get into the weeds, I'm using the garden analogy. I don't want to get into too much of the weeds. I want to be able to tend the bigger garden and see what we're planning. Of course, you, the council, decide what the garden will look like.
Tracy?
How do you attract, develop, and retain talent?
It is difficult nowadays. One of the biggest challenges is retention of institutional memory. Institutional memory is very important because we want to be able to retain what we know and why we are doing. And it has been many times that a senior employee has come in and say, "Oh, I know why we're doing this because of what we did, or what we did even 20 years ago." So the retention of institutional memory is important, but at the same time, you wanting to know that the private corporations, what they're doing now is a lot of times when the person retires, they'll have the person work one day out of the home. They try to retain the talent. They are on call. So there's been many techniques that are out there to try and keep the institutional memory, what's going on. The second one is, of course, you have to pay people the prevailing wage. And you have to, this is the marketplace, and if you're not competitive, people will leave. The other side of that is incoming employees. How do you attract employees to the public service? At times, people are fascinated with hospital service and this private sector service. But there is a component of individuals, particularly working with universities. I have always worked with universities, not even just universities, but, at senior level high school, I'm a big proponent, and I've spoken at many high schools, particularly to young women, asking them to come and consider a career in local government. Not, the state or the way, the dazzle of the federal government. Come work for local government. And, truthfully, a lot of young people don't even know what a local government does. They do not know. They do not know that you record births and deaths and marriages, and where do you get your marriage license? They have no idea. So it is very attractive, and I'm out there all the time, whenever given the possibility to work with students, bring students in to do job shadowing. That's an exciting way of attracting that. And at the university level, engineering level, it's always good to go out there. And nowadays, there are many work fairs and job fairs, and if we're going to be looking for employees, we're going to go where the job fairs are. Put ourselves out there. Have people
Councilman
consider us.
Tobin.
Got her this time, got her name right.
What are trends in local government that could impact Lincoln Park?
Technology, that's a heavy one. Work from home. Many of the local governments that, I belong to an association called the 8 Mile Association, not myself, but where I work. And I do listen to, it's a private sector and government sector together. And just chatting with different staff, there is a lot of pressure to have employees work, let's say, 3 days at the office and 2 days at home. There is a lot of trends, particularly in Europe, to work only 37-hour week, longer days, but not working on Fridays. So there are some trends in human resources that are happening, and that, it really marries up with the idea of how do you attract employees when the private sector is offering those types of work environments. And those are the trends that you see in the employees, that in attracting employees and in the workplace. And with that comes a challenge of, do you equip individuals at home, lots of technology to be able to communicate? So those are the things that we have challenges as far as new trends.
Thank you.
Councilman Ross.
How do you clearly convey your staff's recommendations and rationale to council?
Being transparent, providing council the best information. I always recommend to department heads that when they do write any kind of recommendations, and I personally, if I write recommendation to council, I will first put on the background to what is the background of the issue, why we're doing what we're doing, and they really should have three recommendation, and each recommendation should have a fiscal impact, and where do they plan to take the money. When council makes these decisions, we need to clearly, as staff, show you why and how much it's going to cost. Not only now, but is there a future impact? For instance, when you're building a building, you're building a building that has probably 100 years worth of maintenance and impact on the budget. So those are the things that I take a look at.
Thank you.
Jason.
Jason?
What types of community and economic development projects have you worked on in the past, and what were some of the outcomes they brought about?
Well, the one that I would like to share with you, because it's very close to this, to Lincoln Park, is my work at City of Inkster. And City of Inkster, when I arrived there, were grappling with a small police station, there's just people stacked on top of each other, very risky, holding cell situation, the police department, particularly the courts, and just generally developing the main thoroughfare to put on a better look onto the Michigan Avenue, which is the main thoroughfare through Inkster. I took the opportunity, we were approached by a developer just for one building, and he was going to develop the Secretary of State building and convert something. But that, after discussing with him, working with the developer, we developed almost 2 blocks. We went out and attracted Secretary of State building, Department of Health and Human Services building, the Social Services building. If you go on Michigan Avenue, you will see there was an old YWCA there. We left some of the building, but to bring that to fruition is about 2 years just of financing, because when you want to take out the financing, on top of that, we had to go to finance market to bond. We were going to issue bonds, and luckily we sold them privately night before, saved ourselves hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some developers called and said, hey, I'm going to buy all $6.5 million worth of your bonds. Don't worry about going on the market. So if you look at Michigan Avenue in Inkster, the buildings you see there, the Justice Center, the Secretary of State office, this was all worked on financial decisions made through private development, TIFA, Tax Increment Financing District, and the DDA, and Wayne County, and the state of Michigan. And the fact that the federal government was offering favorable bonds, securities to investors. Take opportunity. Take whatever you've got.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Zor?
How do you handle public criticism?
Well, I've been in the public sector for quite a while, and I have a stack of fabulous articles and a stack of not-so-good articles. And then you weigh them out against each other. Respond. If it's an issue they want to know, I will respond. I will sit down and answer the questions. But in public life, you do get criticism. And some of it is perhaps constructive criticism, as they call it. You should listen. You should listen. At least I do.
Thank you.
Can you describe a situation where you needed to understand multiple personalities and how you were able to achieve that goal?
Understanding multiple personalities.
Perspectives.
Okay. Well, I was going to say God made all of us very unique beings, so we are all very unique. But multiple perspectives is, people that serve on council or in any organization have different perspectives. They come to the table and to the decision-making circle from different perspectives. You have, academically, you can call a candidate or someone who's altruistic, that they are to serve nothing but the goodness of society, and they want to, some come and serve interest groups. They're not an interest group, but they have an interest in the outcomes of policies. So you take a look at all of those, and I think everyone needs to be heard, and the decisions often have to be made. Now, council votes, and I think it's majority rules in certain, so when I get proposals or ideas from members of council or someone, I always take them. Bring it to a council vote. Put a motion on. Ask for a resolution, and let's see what the gauge is in what it is you're proposing. I think if it's a worthwhile topic, then council should debate about it, or at least, have a workshop. I encourage, on the other side, for council to have retreats. Now, you don't have to go to Hawaii or someplace fancy or Las Vegas to have retreats. You can, simply have a retreat. And many members of public want to join a retreat. Let them join. Serve sandwiches and hot dogs and discuss ideas. And I'm always willing to set up retreats or discussions and workshops around particular topic. I'd like to see the council do a workshop around budget time, because when you set the budget, you show me your priorities. And, there are priorities that are safety priorities, which we must do, and there are priorities that we like to do, and there are community priorities. So you as a council will set the tone. What I believe you expect from staff and me is leadership to bring you accurate, timely information so you can make decisions.
Okay. Councilwoman Dupre? No?
Carrie.
Oh, Carrie, I'm sorry.
Carlos.
Carlos. Yeah, that's what,
So what's your decision-making process like?
There are two ways people make a decision, particularly myself. One is you can consult with individuals, consult with experts, consult with the lawyers, consult with the architects, consult with the experts. You can have public consultation. And in the end, you have to make the decision. If the decision, you have to own that decision and live with that decision. And those are usually particularly topics that are long-lasting. So you can consult, you can discuss, but in the end, you have to make a decision. The other way of making the process of decision-making is what I call consensus. So if you can, get 80% consensus, maybe 75% consensus, and that'll go by. There's always someone in the room that's not going to agree or not part of the consensus. So you can either be consultative or consensus builder. The trick is to know which to use when, and that's where I believe I bring the experience. I've been in the consultation process, and I've been in the consensus building process. The wisdom is, which one do you use when?
now we will go with Councilman Dupre.
How would you describe your management style?
I think I mentioned to you I'm a teacher by nature. So when I'm asking someone to do something, one, I would never ask someone to do something that I would not do. Second, I always explain why we need to make a decision, why we need to get this done. So it's, management by leadership, but leadership has to be, it's respected on two ways, and respect goes both ways. And there has to be professionalism and respect on behalf, from the department heads and to the manager. And I think I respect everyone until they give me a reason why not, and you trust everyone until they give you a reason why not. But mainly, my idea is to work with people and basically let them know why I'm doing it. And I think when you're doing something and you explain it to someone, usually they see the rationale. And I'm a very careful manager. I believe after years of experience, I've learned that I think all of you know the adage of years ago when you went to get your clothes from the tailor and you bought the fabric. Well, maybe you don't. But you would go to a tailor and you would get a fabric. And that tailor needed to measure twice and cut once. Because once you cut that material, it's very hard to undo. So I always guide the department heads, once you ring the bell, it's hard to unring the bell. So think twice before we do something and let's discuss it. So a lot of times the department heads will know, I know, measure twice and cut once.
Councilman Tobin.
Where am I? Oh, describe a time when a project did not go as expected. What was the course of action that you took to remedy the issue?
Let me just describe a project that, it was not what I expected. I decided that, not myself, but from a risk management perspective, a city owned a landfill, a junkyard, basically a junkyard. And in the junkyard were a lot of tanks, or empty gas tanks, and there was a lot of things in that paint. There was a lot of things. So I looked at risk management, and I thought, I'm going to, we're going to have to put a fence around it, put hours on it. We just can't have children or someone going on there and then, falling into a tank or getting hurt. And, the city, that's a big risk because we know what's going on there. So I worked very hard to put a fence around the waste site, basically, and put a gate on it, put hours on it, and try to restrict the access or at least know who's on the site, who's been doing. What I didn't know is that many people visited the yard to scavenge material. And one of them was the mayor's son. So that did not go well. So we had to kind of redo the approach to gating and all of that. So it didn't go so well. Most of my projects basically have gone well. I'm a tenacious person, so I will finish the projects.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up the questions here with one final question. Why do you want to come to Lincoln Park? And then give me a little bit more about yourself and wrap up what you want to say.
This is my wheelhouse. I, worked and live around here in this particular area. I graduated from Wayne State University. I'm a Red Wing fan. Dare I say, maybe a Lions fan. So Michigan's always been home to me. I worked in many places, and a lot of people refer to me as that lady from Detroit. So, but Lincoln Park is a unique area. It is what I would say a realistic life that we lead here. I remember coming here. My son used to play hockey here in the arena. He played travel team. So I think it's a very good family life, and I live around here. I know the area. I know what I can do with my leadership and your leadership that we can move the city forward. And I think we need to continue that and moving the city forward. So it's a natural event for me. I feel like I'm at home. Family life. Family life is important. Particularly, attracting young families. We got to give them alternatives, for housing. And I think this is very good. There's some improvements needed, but every city needs improvement. And I know everyone pretty well in the area, know the government agencies, so it was a natural desire on my part.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and we'll let you know as soon as, where we go, as soon as we can.
Okay.
You know how government works, doesn't happen overnight.
Well, it doesn't happen overnight, but...
We will get as soon as we can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
We're going to take
You're our
a
social
10-minute break,
director.
and then we're coming back for another meeting.
About 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes.
How about no minutes? Let's just go.